What's up, Epiphany family? I'm Courtney. For those who might not know me, I'm the wife of Pastor Kurt, and we share 4 school-aged children. Something I love about having kids who are finally out of the baby stage is how we're able to show our competitive side. Listen, we gets down in the Dunlap household when it comes to games. My catchphrase lately is, if I'm not winning, I'm hating. We're actually teaching our 2 oldest how to play spades. Of course, we're going slow and showing them the basics, but the 2 main things we emphasize are the need to know how to count your books and how to not cut your partner. You will learn the hard way if you get on a table with seasoned spades players and mess around and do that. That's the quickest way to be banned from any other spades table for life. And who needs that kind of drama, right? It's interesting to think about the drama that can come simply by playing a game, but rarely give any thought to the drama throughout the Bible. But if we do, we can glean so many life lessons. 1 Samuel chapter 1 tells the story of a woman whose life was filled with all sorts of drama. When reflecting on the topic of moms in real life as we celebrate Mother's Day, I have to take a minute to examine 3 important things related to this topic, especially in the school-age years. 1 Samuel 1 immediately drops us into the drama. A man by the name of Elkanah has 2 wives. He has sons and daughters with his first wife, Peninnah, and the other, Hannah, he has none. The Bible describes Peninnah as Hannah's rival. She's constantly taunting and ridiculing Hannah to the point that she's driven to tears. Year after year, this family takes a trip to Shiloh to make sacrifices to the Lord. And every year, their family vacation is filled with drama. At some point, Hannah decides to do something. Even before becoming a mother in the natural sense, she moves towards motherhood discipleship. Which brings me to my first point. Real-life motherhood requires a made-up mind to honor the Lord no matter what. In verse 11, Hannah makes a vow to God. She begs and pleads for a child and promises to commit this baby to him if he'll grant her request. She had her mind made up, but this did not come without its obstacles. In fact, when you make up your own mind to honor the Lord in how you mother, don't be surprised if you face them as well. For instance, some of these might include yourself. Think about Hannah. She struggled with sadness, grief, unmet desires and dreams. It could come from others. Peninnah, which another translation literally calls her adversary. Kind of reminds you of Satan, right? And society. Their culture placed a heavy emphasis on childbirth and rearing. However, despite her anguish and deep despair, Hannah made up her mind to honor the Lord no matter what. She committed her unborn son back to God. We too might face obstacles as we make up our minds to honor the Lord as we mother. I can be the first to admit that it's not always easy to keep up with the demands of this social media-driven, overscheduled, playdate-enforced world. The kids might have games, there's dinner to be made, homework to check, sibling fights to referee, and honestly, it can be exhausting. Nevertheless, we can decide, like Hannah, to honor the Lord in how we mother. My second point is this. Real-life motherhood also requires trust in an unseen, yet an all-powerful God. In this passage, God is called by various names. For instance, he's called Lord of Heaven's hosts and Lord of Heaven's armies. He's the God of Israel. Think about the covenant, right? He's the Lord. Hannah had an awareness of God's unseenness and his power, so she trusted him. By trusting in an unseen yet all-powerful God, it required something. Hannah fellowshiped with God. We see her praying in the Lord's presence in verse 12. She was vulnerable with God. She poured out her heart in verses 15 to 16. She had belief in God. Verse 18, after she gets word from Eli the priest, she gets up, she eats, she's no longer sad and goes on her way. She basically gets back to living her life again. Our ability to mother during these school-age years will constantly drive us to entrust our kids to the Lord. I've personally experienced God meet me and work out so many situations with my children that might have felt scary, uncertain, or too overwhelming simply when I got in his presence and when I was vulnerable with him and when I believed that he would do something. My final point is this. Real-life motherhood requires follow-through, and we see this laid out in verses 22 to 28. To signify her follow-through, after getting a word from Eli the priest, Hannah goes away. She worships, and she did what she had to do to keep her vow. This included these things. She was purposeful. Hannah didn't rush her baby before his time. She kept him and she nursed him. She instilled in him everything that he would need in order to thrive once she released him from her home. Samuel, he was going to live in the temple, but that wasn't necessarily the best place for a young and impressionable boy. He would have been around the negative influences of Eli's sons, whom the Bible describes as wicked men. Mothers, are we like Hannah? Are we pouring the necessary things into our babies so they can thrive once we release them out from our home? If they haven't already, they are going to encounter the negative influences of their peers and so much more during these school age years. It can be really scary. That's why we must be purposeful. We can intentionally pass on the faith to our kids, teach them good stewardship and money management, even with their chores and allowance. We can teach them how to be emotionally healthy people with how we guide them to resolve their conflicts with their siblings and their peers. The truth is, one day they will leave our homes. It's up to us and what we pour into them right now to ensure they will be prepared. Now, if all this feels too daunting of a task, our follow-through can include communal accountability. Hannah's husband, Peninnah, their children, and possibly even people from their own town knew about Hannah's promise. Remember, year after year, they would make that trip to Shiloh. She didn't fulfill her commitment in isolation. She allowed others to peer into her life and was open about her resolve. Her husband encouraged her and held her accountable to follow through. Are we doing the same? Or do we try to mother alone? We don't have to be isolated from the community of believers who want to see us win and who can hold us accountable. There's dope sisters right here in this community who are single, married, moms, ladies who don't have children, who want to come alongside us as we mother in real life. Finally, like Hannah, our follow-through must always be unto the Lord. She didn't try to prove that she was a super mom. She didn't brag about her child's potential. She didn't share how many times he made the honor roll. She didn't even try to spite her rival. Instead, she had an unwavering focus that everything she did and poured into her son was unto the Lord. So mothers, I encourage you and myself, let's do the same. Let's not make our only striving be for kids who get straight A's or play every sport imaginable, though these may be great things. By God's grace and power, we can be free of any personal, family, or societal pressures to mother in any way that doesn't make our sole focus pointed toward the glory of God. Together, we can lock arms to make this our collective goal as real-life mothers. Thanks for listening, y'all. Happy Mother's Day, and God bless.